Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Daily Crypto Byte. Today is Wednesday, September 22nd, and today's the big day. We got some big news coming, Fed meeting coming later today. The markets are kind of churning a bit now. We're seeing turn up in Bitcoin and the S&P as well, but we'll see if that lasts and what that will mean for the entire market today. But before we dive into that, CJ, John, how are you guys doing today?
Doing well, Monty. How about you, CJ?
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised late last night with the domestic debt deal that the Chinese government has done with Evergrande that really led to a nice rally in Bitcoin back up to 42K. And now we're seeing the same in kind of the S&P. So I think that things are looking very favorable going into the Fed meeting today.
Yeah, it's pretty much playing out like we talked about, right? And if the Fed just sits there and says, well, we're not going to do anything for a little bit here. We're going to, get some more data. And since we don't have an October meeting, unless there's an emergency, we're not going to do anything. To CJ's point, of course, we broke 40,000 last night, depending when you guys were up. And I didn't buy it there. I would have, I suppose, but I didn't buy it there. But it traded down to 39.8 or thereabouts last night. And it has come back $3,000 nearly since then, which is always good to see. And a lot of the opportunities that are, that avail themselves during those late nights, the Asian market trade is one of the reasons that this is such a fun asset class to trade, because you get more volatility during that session than you get during ours, where everybody just kind of sits there and, okay. Most of the time, those big moves occur late at night during the Asian session, late at night U.S. time.
It makes things very exciting.
Yes, it does. Let me see when I'm going to just try to pull up on my chart and see. Yeah, it was. Perhaps somebody was able to get it, guys. That was up during that time, but again, not me. I was lucky enough to enjoy a nice night out with my wife, and was not thinking about trading coin at that time.
You got to enjoy those nights, because there are not too many where you can escape the thoughts of crypto. But we've had, CJ, we talk a lot about some intelligent members in our community. One person and one concern that I've seen arise over the last 24 hours in our chat is that the critical levels for Bitcoin that we've been mentioning over the last week as support levels, specifically 42K, and we got those moving averages. Now that we're below them, they may flip and act as resistance, which is something we see historically with those critical levels and moving averages. Any concern of that when you take a look at the Bitcoin chart, because we are now below some very critical levels here?
Yeah, and I saw that. That was Bob earlier this morning, so shout out to Bob. Also had some members really up late last night, like 2, 3 a.m., Americans as well. So, good on you guys for being dedicated and whatnot. But yeah, now that you mentioned those critical levels, Monty, why don't we just jump into the charts and take a look at the big boards here. We're starting with Bitcoin. All right. So first of all, let's just understand a lot of major oscillators turning up, both the CCI and the RSI. And if we go to the CCI, we actually haven't been this oversold since our initial capitulation events that took us down to 29K. And that's that was kind of a local bottom. Even though we did test it a couple times, that level really did create that 29K bottom that acted as a spring to push us upward in the coming weeks. But you're right, Monty. You make a good point highlighting this 42K level, because 42.5 it's a 3.8 Fibonacci level, which is a very critical Fibonacci level. This and the 618 are really the strongest when you're evaluating them. But at the same time, we are turning up on the oscillators. We are at a very oversold level. And so the faster you go down, you don't really form a whole lot of support on the upside. Being said, I think that this bullish Harami candle, the fact that we're kind of getting a bullish engulfing candle at the bottom of this downtrend is a very good sign. And that's the technical setup that is pretty ideal going into this Fed meeting later today. Also, I do want to make a point about Bitcoin dominance and going from a risk on to a risk off environment. And the thing that I think is interesting here is if we add this sequential indicator, we'll actually see that Bitcoin dominance has hit a 9, specifically a sell 9, and we can see that here right off of, I mean, it wasn't a perfect doji candle, but you can tell that the trend is losing a little bit of momentum here. We're going into a resistance level on that TD sequential sell 9, and then now we're getting a rejection off of that level. So we are moving back from, Bitcoin territory slightly to, what I like to call neutral, a neutral market environment. And then going down, if we really break this previous level at about 40% on Bitcoin dominance, that's when an altcoin season can really take hold, in my view. But I just thought that was interesting. It kind of shows that we're going from risk off back to a little of risk on, but really interested to hear your gentlemen's thoughts as well.
Mine I sort of shared yesterday, CJ and Monty, and that was that we're going to hit a wall, I think, unless the Fed does something shocking, which again, I don't think they will. The Fed chairman would like to be reappointed just for his legacy, not because, Jay Powell, he was a partner at, I think it was Carlyle Group, guys. So when you're a partner at Carlyle, you're taking home $40 million a year. He doesn't need the job. He's doing it for his legacy. And he thinks he's doing the right thing. People can disagree, as I have at times. I've never said he was not a really smart man. But I do think that they're letting inflation run, and it's not going to be as transitory as they thought, unless, again, on a long enough timeline, everything is transitory. So I think we're looking at a couple years of much higher volatility than we've seen over the past 10 or 15 years, maybe 20 years. But with that said, I think the Fed will push it off. I've already said 75, 80% chance of that, I feel. And the volatility for Bitcoin, because this is going to go, somewhat deep in the weeds just for a moment, though, folks. We talked, CJ and Monty and I, about how at the Labor Day drop that we experienced, Bitcoin had been down to about a 3% volatility. 3%, again, is 3 times 16. So it's a 48 volatility, which is one of the lowest readings of the year. We've popped back up, and we're still right up against 4%. And again, 4% would be 64%. It's 16 times 4. So we are presently at about 3.85 to 3.9%, depending on if you're talking about derivative or whether you're, and I'm talking about options. That I would think that the options being at this higher volatility give us the opportunity to buy Bitcoin and sell those pumped up options against it 1-to-1. Some of you will elect to do it in ratios, but if you're somebody who, again, we talked about it yesterday, guys, and boy, what a trade that would have been had you done it. You sell those 40,000 puts in Bitcoin. I'm going to refer exclusively to Bitcoin, even though there are some Ethereum options out there. But if you sell the 40,000 strike and you collect a couple $1,000 for it, effectively you're buying Bitcoin at 38. We fell last night just below 40. Probably would have made you a little uncomfortable unless you were out like me and not looking at it. But now we've come right back up and, 42 and pushing towards, do we go towards 43? That volatility compression that I think we will get after the Fed meeting today, take me up on it tomorrow, but we're at 3.85 to 3.92, depending on the exchange where you're seeing those options trade. As that volatility comes out, I'm not saying we go right to 3% overnight, but I think that bleeds out. The volatility goes back down. And I think that's really positive for anybody like me who trades not just the futures or the coins, but the derivatives.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, John. And I think an important metric to watch today and over the next month is going to be Bitcoin open interest. Because historically, what we've seen is Bitcoin open interest kind of lead that charge into that retail leg up because we have institutions getting in, buying these very appealing options for Bitcoin. And that kind of brings the confidence back to the market that brings on that risk on environment that we've been talking so much about. And I think when you take a look at Bitcoin dominance, like CJ pointed out, we're clearly coming back into that risk on environment. And I think that if Bitcoin, breaks into new all-time highs, that's when we're really going to start to see some incredibly parabolic price action. So exciting day today, but we'll be watching that Bitcoin open interest closely as we get that Fed announcement later today.
Yep. And it will be just after 2 o'clock is when we're going to get that Eastern time, I think, guys. So with 2 hours left to trade in the day, that's when we normally expect to see that. So expect volumes to sort of lighten up just ahead of that. An hour and a half, 2 hours ahead of it, volumes tend to shrink because although some people will place big bets in that time frame, until they really hear from the Fed's mouth what they're going to do, they will, pare back their bets rather than, increase and jump in hard.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. And one thing we've also talked a lot about is what may happen with the altcoin market after today. I mean, Bitcoin's price has been somewhat depressed over the last couple of weeks. And as a result, we've seen some of the alts that have been performing tremendously well over the last 2 months start to kind of turn down as we entered this risk off part of the market cycle. I think today, if we do get some positive news out of the Fed, we could see some speculation come back into those downstream alts that we talked so much about over the last couple months. So on that note, do you guys have any doges of the day that you're going to be watching today and waiting to see what happens following this Fed announcement?
Do you want us to kick it off, CJ, or do you want me to?
I've got quite a few, so why don't you kick it off?
Is one of them Cardano?
No.
All right. Well, I like Cardano here. You just look at a couple days ago and you see where it's come from. That's what I'm looking at. So if I compared, if we get a benign Fed, which I'm anticipating, and Bitcoin trades back above and overtakes 44,000 and pushes back against 45 or something like that, you do that as a percentage trade and then look what the percentage would be in Cardano. I think Cardano could 2x or 3x the move that you see in Bitcoin on a percentage basis. So buying it at where is it right now? 213-ish, guys. Let me see. 212. I'm showing on one of the last consolidated trades. Still, just like last night, would have been great to buy it below 2, but I think this one's going to be pushing back to 260, 280 in the not too distant future if we get what I'm thinking we're going to get as far as activity out of the Fed today. So that would be mine, ADA, Cardano. And I know you talked about it just the other day too, Monty.
Yeah, John, I actually really like Cardano right now because of the fact that we have such strong support at the sub $2 level. Like you point out, I wish I was able to get filled at that level, but we saw such relentless buying below $2 for Cardano. It was at that level for a very short amount of time. And it makes sense if you look at the fact that just 2 weeks ago, it was making all-time highs at almost $3. So I think that, given the fact that it was seeing such tremendous speculation while Bitcoin was performing well, I think we can expect to see the same thing today if we get some positive price action this afternoon. So I very much like that pick, Doc. How about you, CJ? I know you got a lot of picks, so you want to dive into some?
Yeah, I'd like to start with DOT because so this was a picture that I had posted in chat last night. I don't know, around maybe 9 or 10 p.m. And I picked up some DOT because I really liked this kind of like accumulation cylinder that we were forming. DOT is one that I want to hold in Voyager due to that 12% interest. So I wanted to increase my exposure to that. And I saw that we were getting a bullish engulfing candle off of this kind of upward sloping trend line, very similar to the classic, widening mouth pattern. So I decided to do that last night. I still like it though. Looking over here, it's done about 10%, 11% in these last few hours. Still got the CCI turning up. I like that a lot. Just kind of got to get through this 20 smooth moving average as resistance. But I think if we close above there, it's going to be a very favorable run and might even, continue this parabolic climb. So I really like DOT for that reason. Also, I think that there's two assets that really stand out to me in terms of just technicals. And that is first, Algo, I think is really interesting because you have the cup and handle still very much intact. And then you have the bullish engulfing candle forming right off of support at that 20 smooth moving average. So, this could be a zone in which we consolidate a little bit here, form support, and then continue on upward with that continuation. So I really like Algo Rand. And then also AVAX has been
Yes.
unusually strong. You want to go and say something, John?
No, I'm agreeing with you on AVAX for sure. That one just continually pops up there.
Yeah. You still have the remnants of the cup and handle pattern, and you have the continuation there with the consolidation. But the real story is look at this volume. I mean, that is just extraordinary. We were virtually flat for the longest time here throughout May, June, July, and August. And then throughout the last couple months, just incredible interest flowing into this asset. So the fact that we got, DOT, Algo, and AVAX all remaining relatively resilient in the midst of this broader sell-off, I think is very promising. If Bitcoin continues to rally, I think those will be very nice plays throughout the rest of the day and week.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, CJ. And obviously, Doc liked that pick of AVAX as well. And I'm right there with you guys. I think that AVAX is, in many ways, comparable to Solana. And people love Solana. AVAX hasn't been getting the same amount of attention. But like CJ pointed out, that volume profile, when we saw the Ethereum network become incredibly congested, that was where a lot of people went. And it was one of the big winners of the month. It just kind of was overshadowed by Solana. So I think that now that market strength may resume, we could see AVAX continue to climb to new all-time highs. So another really good pick there. I like it. And CJ, you got some support in the chat from Moises. Stacy says they're in. So you got some people riding with you there. I will wrap it up here with my Doge of the day. And this is one I'm picking on a similar premise to AVAX, and that is HBAR. John, I know you met Jordan, the founder of HBAR, and you spoke very highly of him, which I took into consideration as well. I've always liked HBAR, but I think that now it's in a unique position to see some positive price action here. Now, as you can see, the last 5 to 6 days have been very rough for HBAR, and I think that that's an important thing to note because this was on a very strong uptrend with a nice build in volume until we hit that risk off market with the Evergrande news, and the speculation just stopped in its tracks. We retraced all the way down and got a very nice bounce off this 50-period simple moving average, and are seeing actually relatively strong volume already to start the day. I'm encouraged by the fact that we're putting in a potential bullish engulfing candle here, and if we get a close with the bullish engulfing candle on the daily chart here for HBAR, I very much like entering a long trade here, and I think that with a positive announcement from the Fed, this thing could continue right where it left off with this incredible positive speculation on very strong volume. So this is another one, a very impressive network in terms of the amount of transactions per second it can handle, and just the amount of congestion it can handle, which is a very important thing to consider during a time when that is something that a lot of people are looking at with chains like Ethereum, Solana, AVAX, Binance Chain, and a whole lot more. So I like HBAR here. I think that it's looking primed for a bounce from these critical levels, and I will be looking to enter if we get a bullish close and a positive announcement from the Fed today. So that is my Doge of the day.
Beautiful. Well, I'll say it again, folks. If you want to get some great insights throughout the day, especially when that Fed announcement comes today, Matt and CJ will be in there in the Market Rebellion crypto room because that's their playground. And if you subscribe today for $1, that's all it would cost you to be in there for the next month. If you're a new subscriber, it's just $1 for your first month. Today would be a great day to do that. You go to marketrebellion.com/try crypto. That's marketrebellion.com/try crypto. And you would get those insights right as this news breaks, right as the market starts to make its reaction to whatever the Fed announcement is. I've already told you my opinion. And they will be telling you their opinions as the actual news comes out. marketrebellion.com/get started, $1. And you can still join, of course, if you need another platform to trade on, or if you're new to crypto, go on over to Voyager. And if you type in Rebel25, you'll get $25 in Bitcoin with that promo code for just signing up on Voyager Digital. It's a great platform. It's in Google Play. It's on the it's in the App Store as well. It's one of the most popular downloaded apps on the App Store for crypto. Check out Voyager. And remember, they're a sponsor of the show, so you're helping keep the show free on the air.
That is right. Yeah, we'd love to have you guys. We're always in the community. Like CJ pointed out, we got people in there 24/7. So definitely come check that out for just $1. We got a member webinar today at 11:30 Central, during which we just answer all your questions, take a look at any tickers you've been wanting us to take a look at, and a lot more. So be on the lookout for that. But thank you guys so much for watching as always. And we will be back tomorrow with another episode of the Daily Crypto Byte. Have a great rest of your day and take care.